So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is draw a PC computer, a screen with a stand on it. Now, there are going to be some things that I cover in this lesson that are done most easily in Illustrator. I mentioned those earlier. One thing is rounded corners. And so when you draw a rounded corner in the latest version of Illustrator, and I'll show you as I'm just drawing a rectangle here, and we'll make this 60 pixels tall. The thing that's nice about the newest version of Illustrator is the shape menu. So it allows you to come in here and individually do corner radiuses here. So we have 6 pixels on one side. Prior to that, the way you had to do it was going into the appearance menu. And through appearance, you could set an effect under stylize where you could round the corners. The issue with this is that it keeps the same border radius for all 4 corners, which is great if you want to make something consistently rounded, but if you want to have only 2 edges or only 1 edge, then you couldn't use this trick. Or you couldn't do so without having multiple projects. Now, what is nice is even in appearance, once you've selected how large it is, in the latest version of Illustrator, you can drag and make these different. But keep in mind that the older versions of Illustrator do not support this. We are going to set on these icons, they're going to be line icons, and we're going to set border radius to 4, just to make it easy throughout the process. We're going to keep that number in mind. And I'm going to go ahead and lock these border radiuses, or radii, I should say. And we're going to do 4 pixels. That gives us a nice border without having anything be too rounded or too straight. We want to have a little bit of playfulness with these icons. So notice that I am dragging this into the square. Now, what I want to do is make sure that this is set up to be a great ratio. So we have it at 80. I want to make sure that we have it at a point where we can draw it and use other parts. So 60 looks to be too exaggerated for what I'm thinking. So let's leave it at 80 pixels wide. Keep in mind 80 is the new 100 if you'd like, because we have this 20 pixel padding around the borders. So we want to make sure that we can keep everything consistent. The other thing I like doing is drawing an icon and starting to draw it at a size that works best in that space, and then going back and tweaking it later from the programmatic menu. Makes it a lot easier to figure out where things should be drawn. So we're going to make this 20 pixels wide. And again, if you need to change anything, align it, if you keep this setting selected, you can just align to artboard with one click like that. Now, the other thing is we want to make a base for this. So it's great to keep in mind, keep in ratios to make sure that people can really see what you're creating. It establishes the style, but it also makes it easier for you to recreate these icons. For instance, if you're always using halves, then you can go back and easily make new icons. Let's make sure that this is 50 pixels wide. And keep in mind too, we're going to check in a second to make sure that these look great at larger sizes, because there's nothing worse than having an icon that looks great on your computer but looks poor on a phone or a tablet, because we're designing for those. And what I'm going to go ahead and do as well is make a new layer, call it guides. And I'm going to set my guides inside of this so that I can toggle on and off viewing these all at once. And so I'm going to do that for this one for now. There's one more guide that I have to put in here. And this is why we try to stay organized from the beginning. So our last guide was actually in here in this layer. So now we can toggle that off. So we want to make sure that we put these in the right place. All right, so I'm going to toggle guides to make sure that we're working. And I will be combining shapes once we get to that point. I want to make sure first that everything is the right point. So this could be used as a display icon. We're also going to draw the inside of this. So I'm going to duplicate the outside. And what I'm going to check is to make sure that we're transforming from the center. We don't want to scale the inside corners just yet. We want to keep those at 4 pixels. I'm going to set width at 60 and C, and then check. Sometimes, especially when doing internal drawings, you don't want to really keep the ratios of the actual dimensions locked. You want to check first if you can see how it's going to look with just one parameter changed. And so something like that. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to actually only round the inside by 1. We're going to keep it playful, but keep it understated. That looks good for now. We'll go back and add details. I do want to make sure that I select what will be the outside of this object. And we're going to go ahead and turn the stroke up here to, we'll say 3. For this particular icon set, I'm going to draw inside the lines, which means instead of having the stroke go and align itself to the center of our lines here, so for instance, when I'm in preview mode, you can see, or when I'm in outline mode rather, you can see the lines drawn here. What preview mode is doing is displaying the stroke as drawn on the outside, and we don't want that. So we're going to align the stroke to the inside, and this is going to allow us to make the icons all at the same 80 by 80 pixels, and then export them and make sure that they look great at small sizes. So we're also going to bring this into the inside, and we're going to make sure to draw everything that same way. I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller now that I'm checking my sizes, and I'm going to make this one smaller as well. So now we've got a nice border going with that, and we can check. So I'm liking that with turned up, and we've got a bit of a shadow here, which is nice. And so I'm going to leave this just for now. Ultimately, and I'm going to check just to see, I'm going to want to make sure that that we do something with these two. So I might make this a little taller, maybe add a little bit of angle to it, but let's call that good now. So that's our display or a computer monitor icon. So if you wanted to let someone know, here's click the desktop site, you would use an icon like this.